John knew that he and his wife were to blame for the death of their son. The couple was so convinced of it since the little boy died that they fell into a deep depression, accompanied by alcohol and antidepressants that threatened to kill them too. They didn't care because they even contemplated committing suicide. But just then, at the worst moment of their crisis, when there was nothing that seemed to get them out of that state, John entered their son's room, and what he found there would change his life forever. John had not known alcohol and drugs only with the death of his son. From an early age, he began in that world of consumption in the company of his father, an alcoholic who did not mind dragging his son with him to that spiral of perdition. When he was just 15 years old, John retired from the school and started to work in a carpentry shop, where he earned the money he needed for his weekend parties. But also there, he would meet 5 years later his true love. It was Mary, a woman a little younger than him. She came to the carpentry to commission the manufacture of a chair. Since he saw her, John fell deeply in love. He knew immediately that he wanted to spend the rest of his days next to that beautiful woman who had captivated him only with a glance. What he did not realize was that conquering his heart because the feeling made him insecure. He did not dare to start a conversation. When she left the carpentry, he feared he was losing her forever. Fortunately, things did not go as badly as he imagined. In reality, Mary and John were soulmates, destined to spend together the rest of the years they had of life. So she also felt quite attracted to him and decided to continue going to the carpentry with any excuse to be able to see John, approaching him and crossing a few words. It was not long before that business relationship arose a first date, and after that, a relationship was born between John and Mary. John was still a person who consumed high amounts of alcohol every weekend and who consumed drugs from time to time, but Mary was not precisely a saint. She was also a frequent drinker and had no problem in accessing the world of drugs carried by the hand of John. She did not imagine that this decision would change their lives. In reality, contrary to what John and Mary could imagine, they managed to carry out their consumption of alcohol and drugs in an atypical way, with a strange sense of normality, because he limited in that consumption to his weekend parties, and the amount of the substances they ingested was only enough to make them happy and disinhibit them a little, but they never tried to reach a point of drunkenness or hallucination that made them lose control of themselves. However, everything was about to change. John and Mary had a deep wake-up call in their lives when one morning she felt extreme nausea. A sixth sense made her run right away to a pharmacy for a pregnancy test that came back positive. Mary was pregnant. Although she and John lived together for a long time, they had never considered getting married, much less having children, and they still considered themselves simply as a young couple. Mary came to fear that John would react in a wrong way, scolding her for not taking care of herself, asking her to abort, or simply abandoning her. Still, against all odds, also in the face of pregnancy, the couple could take out those reserves of responsibility that had characterized them and decided to move forward together. A few days after that pregnancy test, John surprised Mary by asking for marriage. As he told her, he had already been thinking about it. This proposal had been considered before. Still, he did not dare to do it because he was unsure if she would accept. Still, when he knew that they would be parents, he understood that their love was already sealed and that there would be no way for her to say no because she also loved him. It was a simple but happy wedding with the closest friends and family. During the party that followed the wedding, John surprised himself by rejecting every one of the glasses of liquor he was offered. In theory, who should take care was Mary. Still, John developed a paternal instinct that made him feel that he should take care of himself. He also wanted to give an example to his future son, so that without talking to each other and without saying a word, a silent pact was established between the two. Since they learned that they would be parents, they would not use alcohol and drugs again. However, not everything was as perfect for them as they imagined it. By the time Mary had realized she was pregnant, she was already 2 months pregnant, during which time she and John had regularly drunk and smoked marijuana. That time was enough to create in the fetus what scientists call fetal alcohol syndrome, that basically consists of affecting the health of the baby as a result of alcohol consumption during pregnancy. The way in which each creature is affected varies according to the particular conditions, and in the case of the baby of Mary and John, it resulted in their son being born with heart problems. The first months of the baby's life were especially difficult, and the married couple had to run from emergency to the hospital on more than one occasion late at night to save the life of their son. But the child managed to survive. His health was still delicate, but he reached the age of 8, leading a relatively normal childhood, attending school and being a cheerful and beloved boy. One night, he had an intense chest pain, and his parents rushed to the hospital, but apparently it was simply a false alarm. A week later, however, the pain was repeated, and this time the childhood entered the hospital for the last time alive. He had suffered a heart attack and would die 2 days after being hospitalized. The pain of John and Mary was double. Not only had they lost their son, but they felt that they were the culprits and that they had killed him because they were fully aware that the illness of the little one was due to the consumption of alcohol that they had in the past. Ironically, they tried to drown this pain by returning precisely to those old adventures, trying to swallow their depression with beer and marijuana. But just when everything seemed to indicate that he would end up dying of an overdose, John entered his son's room and found a notebook of the little one. What he read there made him cry. The notebook said, "Dear God, today, returning from the hospital after an intense pain in the heart, I discovered why I am sick. My parents believed that I was already asleep, but I listened to them while they were blaming themselves for having consumed alcohol when my mommy was pregnant. I ask you with all my heart to give them the strength to understand that the only thing they are guilty of is having given me life and of having made me happy during the 8 years I have lived. No matter what happens, I will always love them, and my only wish is that they too are happy with me on earth or in heaven." After hours of crying, Mary and John promised each other once again to stop alcohol and drugs, but this time, forever. If you liked this video, do not forget to leave a like and your opinion in the comment box. Subscribe to know more stories like these and share them with your friends. Until next time.